We all know Dark Hole destroys all monsters on the field, and Heavy Storm destroys all spells and traps on the field. And maybe you're familiar with the modern cards that can, as a lingering effect, Raigeki your opponent's board in the end phase if they were to try something dumb like remove the scary 3000 attack monster with a quick effect banish. But none of that matters because we're talking about cards that can do both. Cards that can completely wipe a board clean to a simpler state before any Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. No discussion about cards that can wipe entire boards can start without mentioning perhaps the most infamous board wiper, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End, who has the effect, this card can only be special summoned by removing one light and one dark monster in your graveyard from play. Pay 1000 of your life points to send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard. Inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each card that is sent to the graveyard by this effect. This card was famously part of a game-winning combo with Yata Garasu, whose effect to, if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, skip the draw phase of their next turn. Allowed for what has become known as the Yata lock, where after clearing the entire board and both players' hands, you attack with Yata, locking your opponent out of gaining cards. And since Yata also has the text, during the end phase of the turn this card was normal summoned or flipped face up, return it to the hand. You'd more or less peck your opponent to death, 200 damage at a time. Despite the jailing of longtime partner in crime Yata Garasu, Chaos Emperor Dragon would receive an errata to its effect, reading, "You cannot activate other cards or effects during the turn you activate this card's effect." One of the more recent and classic convoluted modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards with a board wiping effect is Tantrum Toddler. Tantrum Toddler has the effect, once per chain, if a card or effect activation is negated, except during the damage step, you can attach up to one card each from your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard to this card as material. This card gains effects based on the number of materials attached to it. If you can manage 8 or more, you get the quick effect, you can detach 4 materials from this card, destroy all cards on the field. Tantrum Toddler went semi-viral in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community due to its meta commentary on the state of the game, where the toddler throws a tantrum when his opponent activates too many negations, similar to the common Yu-Gi-Oh! Complaint on the state of the game with the existence of unfun multi-negate boards, culminating in the symbolic, rage-induced flipping of the table. If you're interested in gambling for your board wipe effects, then consider the card Arcana Force EX, the Dark Ruler, who has the effect, must be special summoned from your hand by sending 3 monsters you control to the graveyard, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When this card is special summoned, toss a coin and gain the appropriate effect. Heads, this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, but if it does so using this effect, change it to defense position at the end of the battle phase. Its battle position cannot be changed until the end of your next turn. But if tails, the card gains the effect, if this card is destroyed, destroy all cards on the field. For the anime fans in the audience, there is no more famous board wipe card than Ikiza's Black Rose Dragon of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's fame, who has the simple effect, when this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. Interestingly, Black Rose Dragon also has a second effect, this time with an on-field effect to banish one plant monster from your graveyard to change battle position of a monster in defense position, which almost never activates because your Black Rose Dragon is already exploded into a million pieces. One step up from Black Rose Dragon is the much newer Goaty from the Deep Beyond. With the effect, the original attack of this card becomes 500 times the number of banished monsters. If this card is synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, you can banish all cards on the field. During the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished from the monster zone, you can special summon this banished card. Unlike Black Rose Dragon, Goaty of the Deep Beyond's second effect actually has synergy when he goes nuclear, especially when you factor in its first effect, which gives it 500 attack points for each monster currently banished. But we can go even further beyond with the help of Topologic Zeroboros. Topologic Zeroboros has the effect, you cannot summon set monsters to any extra monster zone this card points to. Gains 200 attack for each banished card. If another monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to, while this monster is on the field, banish all cards on the field. Once per turn during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon this banished card. To complete the trifecta, we have cards that destroy, cards that banish, and finally we have Rainbow Overdragon. Rainbow Overdragon continues the lineage of Convoluted Crystal Beast cards by only being summonable by fusion summoning with 7 Crystal Beast monsters, or by special summoning through tributing 1 level 10 Ultimate Crystal monster where you don't have to use polymerization. Onto the wipe effect. Quick effect, you can tribute this fusion summoned card, shuffle all cards on the field into the deck. And yes, you read that right, it has to be fusion summoned. And finally, for the sake of preserving history, let's talk about the oldest board wiping card released to Yu-Gi-Oh! With the 2002 release of Magic Ruler. The card Final Destiny has the effect, discard 5 cards from your hand, destroy all cards on the field. A very steep cost for a card that is essentially just Dark Hole and Heavy Storm, but then again, if you're trying to play these types of cards, you're probably okay with watching the world burn.